I'm Batman.
Well, I hardly think so. The real Cape Crusader calls his crime-fighting cohorts when he's running late.
I had to walk. I couldn't get Raj on the back of my scooter.
I said this before and I'll say it again. Aquaman sucks.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Geekend. It is Friday, so we're going to discuss some nerd stuff. And tonight we have a pretty great panel for our top 10 power-ups of all time. So this is something that I just think is really cool, the concept of a power-up. It's very retro. It's something that's been in video games almost since the very beginning, and so it's obviously something that's had a lot of impact on the industry. Now, to give you just a little bit of behind-the-scenes extras here, we had a really hard time with this list because we had a hard time even agreeing on what a power-up was and what constitutes it. We looked at a lot of different websites, and frankly, there's not a consistent definition. So we just kind of did the best that we could and take it, you know, as you see it. But so we'll go ahead and go to the guys. This evening we have Justin, Chris, and Andrew. Welcome to the program, guys. Thanks for agreeing to do this, even though there was quite a bit of contention between all of us on whether or not, like, what we were thinking of actually was technically a power-up. So thanks for being with us tonight.
Howdy.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right into this.
The Tactics Top 10.
The only rule that we couldn't even really come up with a consistent set of rules. So basically just kind of the structural framework that we worked from is that it is something that you come across in the course of a video game that grants some kind of temporary enhancement to the character themselves. I don't know if we 100% followed that in every single pick that we're going to do, but we more or less stuck to something resembling that definition. So we'll go ahead and get into the top 10 right now.
Number 10.
All right, for number 10, Bullet Bill from Mario Kart. I know that normally Bullet Bill is an enemy, but he is a power-up in Mario Kart, and this is an interesting one for us to do because there is literally only one guy on the panel that voted for this one. It is a power-up, but none of us even thought to include this one in our top 10. So since you're the only guy that voted for it, Andrew, why the Bullet Bill? Why use that, specifically the Mario Kart version, as a power-up? Why do you think this one is a good one?
It's a bullet. That's all I should
all right,
say.
number nine. All right, you got to give me something more than that, Andrew. Come on.
No, I just think it's ridiculous that you can be in last place 2 laps down and get to just ride a bullet and knock everybody off the track.
Well,
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that is that.
And it's guaranteed,
and then slink back to last place.
But it's like, I think it's guaranteed that as long as you're in last place for a certain amount of time, like, you're going to get a bullet as your power up. So, I mean, you get it, and you can get into, like, next to last place a couple of times with it.
Doesn't it drive for you, too?
Yeah, it requires 0 skill to use because it literally takes over your steering.
And 0 skill to acquire.
Best power up.
How high did you put this on your list for it to, with your vote alone, make it to our top 10?
Hang on, I gotta go look now.
It's number 2. It's number 2 on Andrew's list.
So you feel really strongly about this, huh?
That or you're really bad at Mario Kart.
No, I just feel really strongly about it, right? Yeah. We'll go with that.
Bullet Bill saved my life back in Nam.
I don't like to make it a habit of calling people out on the top 10, but I would also like to point out that the only other power-up from Mario Kart on Andrew's list is the blue shell. Both of which are items that you only get when you suck at Mario Kart.
The blue shell doesn't even help you.
No, it doesn't.
Hurt the first player.
I'm just saying there seems to be a pattern in Andrew's power-up selection. That's all I'm saying. I noticed none of the first place items that you get in Mario Kart made it on his list. I'm, just pointing that out.
I bet you Bernie Sanders' favorite power-up is the blue turtle shell.
Well, by definition, the first place person in Mario Kart is part of the 1%. So
the blue shell will take out the billionaires and the trillionaires and the quadrillionaires.
I used to say that it would take out the millionaires too, but now I'm a millionaire, so just the billionaires. But anyway.
And once again, asking for your blue turtle shell.
All right, so I think we've milked about as much
horse to death.
content as we can out of Bullet Bill, so let's go to number 9.
Number 9.
All right, number 9 is one that we all actually, or at least some of us voted for, the Fire Flower. So the Fire Flower from Super Mario, it's made appearances in Mario Kart, it's made appearances in Super Smash Brothers. Interestingly enough, in all of those games, it takes a slightly different manifestation, so it functions a little differently in all of those.
So the Fire Flower, it's interesting because being a power-up item, it's also still become kind of synonymous with Mario's character, right? Like, Mario throws fireballs. Is kind of what is generally accepted, but isn't it the Fire Flower that gives him that ability, at least in the older games?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, I think part of it is its ubiquity, right? So it's not just been in the Mario games; it's been in Smash Brothers, it's been in Mario Kart, and like you said, also it's kind of been manifested in different ways. So Fire Flower in Smash Brothers is a little different than Fire Flower in Mario Kart, which is actually really fun power up in Mario Kart. And it's also different from the mainline Mario games. So I think people enjoy elemental type powers. So being able to throw fireballs is really cool. I think it also comes with cosmetic changes in the Mario games. And just generally useful giving Mario something ranged versus just having to jump and dodge.
Right. Well, in a game like Super Mario where you don't have a lot of range and you don't have a lot of options just by yourself. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fun to play Mario as just regular Mario or Super Mario. But once you start throwing power-ups in the mix, I mean, that just changes the whole formula. And so I think that's one of the things that people like about Fire Flowers is if you go back to the earliest Mario games where there weren't very many power-ups, Fire Flower was kind of it for the most part with, 2 or 3 other items that you could get as well. And so I think that's one of the reasons that people really resonate with this one is because there is that nostalgia factor, but it can be used so many different ways. Yeah.
I didn't pick it. I was trying not to have too many Mario things on my list.
Which is hard.
It's really hard because it's like power up. Well, let's see. You got mushrooms, you got stars and flowers, and oh wait, that's all one game.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, I could second what Chris said. It's nice to have that range aspect. It's another +1 hit point in a game without hit points, so that's handy.
For sure. And one thing that's really cool that I wanted to play off of a little bit that you might not know, Mario can use fireballs now, like in some of the games like Smash Brothers, and there's actually a part of Mario lore that says he used so many fire flowers that he actually gained the ability to do that himself. And so I guess that's kind of a cool little nod to it being his oldest power-up is that apparently he used them so often, and it takes place in so many different Mario games that in some iterations of the character he can actually use it without the advantage of having a fire flower.
I'm actually frustrated because I just checked my list and realized I didn't put that on my list. And if I had thought about it, it actually would have gone on my list because that is one of my favorite powers. Back in the day, like if it wasn't for the fire flower, I would not make it through a bunch of the levels. But one of the coolest things for me about it, and this is going back to like super long time ago, when I first realized that you could find a fire flower in the NES, I just love the fact that it changed. Like, you know how the mushroom just made him a bigger dude, but the fire flower actually changed his appearance. And so to me, that was kind of cool. It was like a wardrobe change in the middle of a match. I mean, you'd lose it pretty quickly when you got hit, but I don't know. I always thought that was kind of cool. I like the different aspects. And we'll get to a few other things from Mario that, you know, when they change the aesthetics of it, I've always been big on that. And you know that with my my RPG characters.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But no, one aspect you brought up is, think about this. Not only is the fire flower itself iconic, the costume change in Mario is iconic. Because the vast majority of people, even if they don't have a lot of gaming experience or aren't technically Mario fans or have played a lot of Mario games, like they see the Mario with the red overalls and the white shirt and hat, and they automatically know that's Fire Mario. And there's actually different versions of it, interestingly enough, and I'm sure that this would get canceled nowadays if they tried to do it. In the Super Mario Land version, instead of a costume change because it was black and white, so you couldn't tell that there was a costume change, just by looking at the pixels, they actually added like an Indian feather on his cap. And so, this is just a super iconic piece of Mario history. It's one of his oldest power-ups. I mean, when most people think of what a power-up is, this is going to be one of the first things they think of, probably with the exception of the Super Mushroom itself, just because that, they ran into that more often. But if nothing else, it deserves to be on here just for nostalgia alone, even if it weren't great. But it also has a lot of great powers and advantages, especially in Mario Kart, and to a more limited extent, I'm kind of annoyed by it in Smash Brothers, to be perfectly honest. But it's cool that it's in there.
Number 8.
Now, number 8 on our list is not a Mario item for the first time. We had to get through those two just to get to one that wasn't from the Mario universe. The Magnet Shield from Sonic. It goes by different names. Magnet Shield is the official title, but sometimes it's called the Lightning Bubble, whatever you want to call it. But the Magnet Shield from Sonic's.
Yeah, it's just super convenient to be able to run near the rings instead of actually. I would always be devastated if I had to actually use it as a shield. It was nice to be able to collect all the rings and get your 1-ups and everything. Then you could focus more on what Sonic does best and just running fast and not having to go out of your way to get some rings and stuff.
No, I think that was the best part of it, is that the cool thing about any Sonic game is to be able to, zip around and maneuver, and if you don't have to worry about going through and collecting rings, you just kind of let them come to you. That was really cool, and I got to tell you, there's a few power-ups that fit this description for me. There's very few that do it to this extent, to where, like, when I get the power-up in that game, I'm, like, thrilled to death. Like, whenever I get the magnet shield, I'm like, yes! I don't know why.
Did you ever try to see if you could outrun the rings?
Yes, I did that so many times. It became like
and
a
then you
game.
just stop, and it's just like...
Right, you'd get like 99 rings at once. Oh, it was awesome. I will say, the only thing that kept it being from maybe a little bit higher on my list, because it was pretty high on my list. I think I had it at number 4. But the only thing that might have kept it from being a little bit higher is, I don't know if did you ever play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle?
That was probably the first Sonic game I played, actually.
Really?
That and Smash Brothers were the two games, the only 2 games I had for GameCube for months.
Ah, so that was your gateway into Sonic. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the only thing that's a little bit annoying is if you have the light dash, which allows you to zip across lines of rings, even if there's not a floor.
It breaks
right,
it.
If you,
yeah.
You can't use there's actually some parts in the game where you actually can't progress in the level because like if you've got rings floating out there in space and they're like, well, I just can't finish this level now.
You bot, come hit me real quick.
Right. So there is that minor annoyance with it, because there are times where it'll suck up rings when you don't want it to, but I don't know, man. Just I was always so geeked out every time that I got the magnet shield, especially in the classic Sonic games, that I had to have this one pretty high on the list.
So I wanted to have something from Sonic, and I wound up, I think, putting the Chaos Emeralds on my list. But if I had remembered what the magnet shield was called, I would have listed it too. But yeah, I mean, I think you've pretty much already covered it all. Not only does it, so it provides you protection, and it gathers up all the rings. The combination of those two factors lets you then play Sonic the way it's meant to be played, which is just breakneck speed, constant jumping from one thing to another, never slowing down, because not only are you getting all the rings that you would normally be missing, but you're not worried about getting hit and dying either. So it's kind of a free mulligan there in case something goes wrong. And yeah, getting to the end of the level, especially on the Game Boy versions that I played, get to the end of the level and you wait a couple seconds and then all these rings show up chasing you was just really funny.
That's true. And there's actually another function that we didn't cover yet, which is it gives you, because each of the shields, I think in Sonic Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and also Sonic and Knuckles, they added it to where the shields also do something when you do your double jump. And in the case of the magnet shield, it shoots out sparks. So
What?
Yeah, you didn't know this?
In Adventure Battle 2?
No, in Sonic 3.
Oh, I don't think I ever played that.
Yeah, I don't think it does it in Sonic Adventure Battle, but what they added is if you do a double jump, then instead of just doing a regular jump, it'll actually shoot sparks out of the bottom of it. So you could actually kill multiple enemies at the same time with the magnet shield. And so it's just a really, really cool, really handy item. And like Chris said, one of the things that I think makes it so cool and so iconic is that it basically allows you to play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
This is what I know about the subject. Magnet shield. That's all I have to say.
Wow. That was a massive waste of time. No, I'm kidding.
It was.
Not a Sonic player.
Like
huh?
you're hearing us talk, and all Andrew's doing is going through Google. Okay, I need a picture of a shield and a picture of a magnet.
Could have looked up what the shield does.
I could
You're right.
I could be informed, or I could make a dumb joke. You know what, Andrew? You made the right call. Kudos.
Every time.
Number 7.
Number 7 for the list is going to be the wing cap from Super Mario. And by the way, I did something a little odd here, but I think it's appropriate. I substituted the wing cap and also added in the red star from Super Mario Galaxy because, let's be honest, basically they do the same thing. They allow Mario to fly, and so since the functionality is basically the same, I just kind of lumped it in there. The wing cap, I mean, it's on the cover of Super Mario 64, arguably, and I would argue, the best Mario game of all time. So it almost feels like it had to be in there at some point.
I love it. I love anything that can make Mario fly. I do like really anything that changes what Mario is, because for so long Mario, you know, you just picture him as the dude with the red overalls and stuff. And this is one of those that we were talking about earlier about the aesthetics changing. He changes the way he looks. He gets a new ability. I think we have another one of my favorite ones coming up in the list. You know, just things that change the game and make it look different. And, you know, the ability's cool and everything, but not having to look at the same monotonous character all the time, whether he's this big or this big, you know, it's
You're hurting Mario's feelings.
Oh, I'm sorry. This big. There we go.
Anyway. No, I
like that aspect. Yeah, that aspect. Anytime they can change something to make it not feel like it's just the same old thing over and over that you're staring at, it's a nice change.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a cool new ability. It looks really awesome. Like, I think the wing cap is probably the most iconic of all the caps, which, I mean, there's only I guess the Odyssey cap is a big deal, but there's 5 or 6 different caps that Mario can have, and wing cap is, I think, definitely the most iconic. So overall, I mean, it's just a really cool little feature. Granted, the flying in Super Mario 64 sometimes got real frustrating, but
Yes.
you know, it's still fun, and it was a challenge. I think that they had to make it, you know, to where it wasn't quite all powerful or to where you had complete free range of motion just to add the challenge aspect into it. But still, I mean, I think my favorite levels in most of the Super Mario 64, if I'm going through all my favorite levels, almost all of them are ones where I get to use the wing cap, and I think the wing cap is a big part of that.
Yeah, I still remember after you've gone through the game a little bit on Mario 64, you go back to the first level, and now you can get the wing gap, and it's run forward, jump,
Yeah.
and then you do the spin, and then you go into the air. And that's a really cool experience. Just thinking back, remembering that, you know, more nostalgia, right?
Sure.
But just kind of like swooping up and down through the clouds, and then what was really cool is especially the early levels. Once you got the wing cap and went back to them, you realize there's a whole part of that level you never knew was there, and that's really cool because it's taking the level design that you had in the beginning, and now you're rediscovering it because it's bigger than you thought it was, thanks to this power up. And I think power ups that provide a new aspect of gameplay really contribute to the game.
I couldn't agree more, and I actually thought about, because, of course, exploration is a big, big part of Mario. I think the only Nintendo franchise that it's probably a bigger part of, that exploration is more important, is probably The Legend of Zelda, which especially got emphasized with Breath of the Wild. But when it comes to Super Mario 64 and grabbing onto that wing cap, just being able to go back and re-explore some things and see things from a different angle, to be able to reach things that, like, early in the game when you didn't know about the wing cap, or at the very least didn't know how to get it, you would look like, man, how do I get up there? And then being able to actually get there at some point was really awesome. And I don't know about you, but every time I do a Super Mario 64 playthrough, to me, the checkpoint is not beating Bowser for the first or second time. It's when I get the wing cap. Like, that's the thing I'm looking forward to when I start the game. And so I think that just speaks to the popularity and the versatility of that item.
Number 6.
Okay, number 6 on our list is the Power Pellet from Pac-Man. Everybody knows the Power Pellet. A lot of people may not know what it's called. I think that would probably be a fair guess. But anybody that's played Pac-Man for any amount of time knows I get the big blinky dot, and then I can go and take on all the ghosts. I think that this is another one that nostalgia plays a big part in the reason that it's so high on this list. But I mean, it is a super useful item because you've got these ghosts that are basically invincible and chasing you, and this is really the only way that you can combat them. You're basically powerless against them other than just dodging them until you get the Power Pellet, and then you get to munch them up, which is really cool, especially since your character is basically just one big mouth, so it's nice to actually get to be able to use that feature.
Yeah, so I think we probably have a Power Pellet sitting somewhere around our kind of border here, right? Our background?
Yeah, probably a few.
Probably one behind one of our pictures.
Although that is not Pac-Man. That is license-free Pac-Man-esque background. Just
I see.
Making that clear. Please don't can me, YouTube.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, you kind of already described it, but the whole idea of the Power Pellet for Pac-Man is you've now turned the tides, right? And now the game is yours. It's in your favor. You're the one that's eating everybody. Mm-hmm. And really, my biggest problem or challenge playing Pac-Man in arcades growing up is I wanted to get those too quickly, you know?
Right.
You wanted to get it too early in the level so you can go ahead and get rid of those ghosts that were chasing you around, and then you've got a whole lot of pellets you need to get before the level is over, and you have no more power-ups left to survive it. So it was really nice when they were starting to close in on you and things were looking tight. You grab the Power Pellet, you chase them all away, you eat them all, and now things are kind of reset in your favor.
Right. Well, I think that's really the beauty of the Power Pellet, because there's a lot of power-ups that the power balance is off. Like, there's some power-ups that once you get it, you're just way too uber powerful, and then some where they don't make enough of a difference in the gameplay to where they're really useful. I think the Power Pellet really strikes that blend, not because it isn't super powerful, because it is. You're basically invincible the second that you eat a Power Pellet because there's nothing on the board that can hurt you. But the fact that it doesn't last long enough for you to just be able to run ramshot over everything, and the fact that you only get 4 of them in the level, and that you have to strategically time it out to where you can only use it at certain times to be able to defend yourself, I think that's the reason that this particular power-up works so well within the world of Pac-Man.
It basically levels the playing field, right?
Right.
It's not one of Andrew's power-ups where he just destroys everything in sight.
Right.
It basically resets it a little bit. And I think, I'm not certain on this, but probably this is one of the oldest power-ups, right? I can't think of a power-up in a video game before Pac-Man.
I think it's the original.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the first power-up.
Okay, I didn't want to go out on that limb, but I'll trust you guys if you say so. But yeah, I figure it's, if not the first, it's one of the first.
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. Like, I realize and I appreciate you trying to make sure that we are correct. Granted, I mean, you know, when it is YouTube, there's no false information on YouTube. So I appreciate you trying to keep that. Now, I do think that it's the original power-up, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think of anything earlier. You could kind of argue the double ship in Galaga, but that's just retrieving a ship that you already had. I don't know that you could classify that as the first power-up, and frankly, I don't even know if Galaga was before Pac-Man anyway. So it's close, but I don't even think that would technically classify as a power-up. I think that's definitely the first one.
Pac-Man was released in 1980, and Galaga was released in 1981.
Oh. So actually, Pac-Man is first. Okay.
So Snope's take, mostly true.
Unless you're a conservative, in which case mostly false. But anyway.
No, that was the main point I was going to make, is that I'm fairly sure that is the original power-up, and that's, it deserves its spot on the list for that, if nothing else. And like Chris was saying, the strategy of deciding, I remember always trying to get that last pellet right before the power-up to turn around and go back the other direction and save it for later. But yeah, and then trying to, I don't know if the ghosts actually followed some sort of random pattern or if they tried to follow you, but it always seemed like if you were good, you could time it just right to where the ghosts were right on the other side of the power-up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get them all.
Well,
of course, the downside is if you kill them too quickly, then it ends too soon, and then they're all back already, because you can only eat them once, even if you do it before the end of the time limit.
That's true. I will say, though, that kind of speaking to what you were talking about, that dynamic of trying to trap them, that was always the best strategy, because if you eat all 4 of them, you get 1,600 points.
Is it more points with each consecutive one?
Yeah, so the first one's 200, then 400, then 800, then 1,600. And so
it was just satisfying.
Oh, yeah, and it was always my goal to get a 1,600 every time that I could, so I would strategically lead them back to a power pellet in order to eat them, and when you do that, boy, that is an emotional roller coaster. You're like, no, yes. Once you've got it, I did it,
I wonder if Kirby was somewhat inspired by Pac-Man. Like, Pac-Man's power-up is that he can eat more.
That's an interesting thought. I never thought of that.
He's just a little ball, and they're both little balls. Yeah. Anyway.
I didn't know what it was till this conversation started, so...
Have you never played Pac-Man?
I mean, I didn't know that that's what it was called. But...
Oh, well, that's fine.
I don't know. I felt like it was just too stressful. Like, Pac-Man was like the original.
Pac-Man in general was stressful.
Okay, but you have to remember Andrew's a Spike, so
yeah, this is a good example of the types of power-ups that Andrew needs and the ones he doesn't like. This one is not strong enough.
Andrew would have been fine with Pac-Man if you just had a power pellet all the time.
No, that's not what I'm saying. My problem is that you get it, and then you start chasing after the ghost, and then you start blinking, and then it's like a stress thing. You get this close, and all of a sudden,
it's should I abort or no?
It was so stressful. I almost wish the power pellets didn't exist in that game, because you have no stress at all. You're like, okay, I don't have to chase the ghost. I just have to eat the little balls. That's all I have to do.
Number 5.
Number 5 on our list is the Metal Cap from the Super Mario series. So the Metal Cap, if any of you aren't familiar with it, I'm guessing pretty much everybody's played Super Mario 64 here. So the Metal Cap is the one that turns you metal. I mean, it's pretty darn self-explanatory. You put on the cap and Metal Mario. And I absolutely just adore this one. I had it very, very high on my list, partly because I really like metal, and partly because I really like Mario. And so you put them together, you get something that you really like. But it's kind of Super Mario 64's version of the invincibility star, because it does have a time limit, it does wear off, but it does make you invincible, but it does more than that. Because not only are you invincible while you're Metal Mario, you can also walk through the poison in Hazy Maze Cave. You're heavier, you can walk on the bottom of water, that kind of thing, so you can walk on the actual floor of any kind of aquatic thing. You never run out of breath when you're Metal Mario. I mean, it just had so many different variations of the invincibility star that it became a power-up in its own right, and it actually became popular enough that it's also in Smash Brothers. You also have Metal Mario as a playable character in Mario Kart. He became the first real boss that you ever fought in the original Smash Brothers, and so this, I think, you could argue is even more iconic than the winged cap, which is kind of surprising since you literally have the winged cap on the cover of the game in which it takes place. So, really fantastic power-up, one of my all-time favorites.
I didn't remember everything that it did in Mario 64, but yeah, it was cool to be able to walk on the bottom of the water. It was cool to be invincible, and Smash Brothers, it's fun to be able to not get knocked back. It reduces the knockback factor. So
The only thing that's really unfortunate about being Metal in Smash Brothers is you fall super fast.
You do.
So if you do get knocked off the stage, you ain't coming back more than likely.
I think I view the metal cap similar to the winged cap, which I guess makes sense, right? Because I remember there being three caps in Mario 64. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was the third?
The vanish
So
cap.
it was like you could pass through things or something, right?
Yeah, you could walk through walls and, well, certain walls. And you were invisible to enemies. Things would pass through you, that kind of thing.
Right. So it filled a similar role in that it opened up new areas to explore in the levels that you were playing in, right?
Mm.
The big thing that I remember is getting the metal cap and going to the bottom of an ocean or the bottom of a body of water and just being able to walk around. And that I thought was really cool. And it does kind of have that stress factor because there is a time limit, which means at a certain point you're going to have to breathe again.
Right. So if you go too far, you're like, oh, I hope I can make it back.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember there being a stage where you actually combined the metal cap with the, what was the other, the vanishing cap?
Yes. You have to be both metal and you have to be invisible so you can pass through a gate at the bottom of the ocean to hit the switch.
Right. So I thought that was kind of cool too.
On Smash Brothers, I liked combining it with the bunny hood.
Oh, yeah,
Then, you jump up really high and then just I think the bunny hood made you fall faster when you jump too. So it's like you just jump up really high and, especially if you're Link, do that down A sword stab.
Oh yeah, it was almost instantaneous when you did your sword plan. Of course, regular Link doesn't even really have a good version of that anymore, which I'm pretty upset about. But I won't get off onto that tangent.
I think it was probably my favorite hat out of Mario because you could fly in other Marios. You could do. I kind of wish they had a Yoshi or something in that, but it'd be cool if you had combined Yoshi and a metal hat, metal Yoshi.
That was pre-consistent internet days, and there was always a rumor going around that you could get a Yoshi at some point.
Ooh.
I mean, you can't obviously, but it was kind of like the Mew under the truck in Pokemon.
Right, it was a bunch of third graders lying to one another, is what it was.
Yeah, but it was so permeating. Why did those rumors spread? You could talk to somebody that went to school in Louisiana or something. They're like, yeah, I remember hearing that.
And the same rumors.
Right, it was always the same.
Yeah.
You can evolve a Magikarp into Mew and all that stuff. Not an ounce of truth to it, but it was...
Yeah.
Justin, I'm still looking for that Mew in the truck, just so you know. I've been looking for 20 years.
There is a way to glitch a Mew in Red and Blue. But it's something to do with the Nugget Bridge. I can't remember, but I was able to do it successfully. No Game Shark or anything like that. You can do it, but it's way more complicated than just trying to nudge a truck. Why was that truck even there?
Who knows?
From you. From you.
That's the only logical explanation, Chris.
It seemed reasonable.
All right, everybody, that is going to be it for tonight's episode of The Geekend, the top 10 video game power-ups of all time. Tonight we were only able to cover number 10 through 5, so next week we will be back here, same time, same channel, 7 p.m. on Friday to cover the top 4 video game power-ups of all time. We would really appreciate it if you would join us. In the meantime, stay the course, friends. Tactics is a production of News Radio 1440 and Cumulus Media Montgomery. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Cumulus Media or our business partners. Graphics by Jessica Dawson. Video production by Jackson Dean. Broadcast studio provided by Faulkner University. Location studio provided by the Dalreda Church of Christ. Copyright 2020.